Hello everybody, VG Time is back again with another deck profile, and this time backed by popular demand, we are again looking at the Black Saiyan leader. As I mentioned when I uploaded the announcer deck profile, I am currently going through the decks that I have promised updates on and haven't quite gotten to you guys, and making sure I get them done before Draft Box 6 comes around. So Black Saiyan, he actually got quite a bit of goodies come this set. A lot of good utility pieces, and when the Draft Box 6 come out, I'm gonna have to update it yet again because he gets even more pieces. So if you are a long-time follower of this channel, you know he's my favorite Black Saiyan leader, and I just basically love his toolboxing ability. So most likely for the event that I'm playing in this Saturday on the 7th, I believe, of November, I might be bringing this deck with me. So let's get into it. He has an auto burst 3 when he attacks to draw a card. And then he awakens at 4 or less life by untapping 2 and flipping over. On the backside, this is where he gets interesting. He has to activate main burst 3, where you get to bring back from your drop area a 3-cost higher black battle card. So by using that ability, you're able to recycle cards that might have died or that you might have milled earlier using his skill. And then he gets plus 5k after you use that skill, so he's a 20k attacker on the backside. He doesn't draw cards on this side, but because of that toolboxing ability, you'll find that you're not really that worried about drawing too many extra cards. So the first new tool we got for set 11 is this unison right here, which I think is my favorite of the new black unisons. And this deck, as well as I believe even the Gohan deck and the Toa deck, this might be the best guy. So this guy right here has an auto once per turn that if your opponent plays a battle card using a skill, they have to choose one card in their hand and discard it. Then he has a +2 that gives him an auto that says that if you overwhelm, you could choose up to one card in your life and add it to your hand. And then the -5, which hardly ever comes up, you could pay 4 to warp one of your opponent's life as an activate main. And that 4 has to be black. Like, it can't be, any other colors. So one of the problems I always had with the deck was that it was getting awakened in a timely manner. And with this card, being able to play it on turn 1 and start overwhelming and doing things, you actually awaken pretty quickly. And even though he's always a 5k and never really gonna get big, he's pretty hard to take down just because of the +2 and the amount of dedicated attacks it requires to get there. So, of course, our leader is a Black Saiyan, so we are gonna play the free cards. So we have 4 of the Kai, 4 Trunks, and 4 Vegeta. So if you played any Black Saiyan leader, and especially if they have any form of bursting, you know that this is the cards that you're going to most likely play in your deck. They're, like I said, the free stuff. But to take advantage of the unisons effect, we also are running a heavier amount of Overrun. So we are playing 4 copies, the Revive Average of Vegeta. This card right here is amazing. When you overrun with them, you get to mill up to an additional 3. Next up is a package that is determined by an overrun card, which is Encroaching Darkness Demagogue. This card right here is actually low-key pretty good. It prevents your opponent from attacking you with battle cards with an original power of 10k or less until your next turn. So that's really good against decks like the one drop skillless deck and um, any other self awakener weenies like that are in like Reboot Gohan and whatnot. You just overwhelm this guy, they can't attack with him. But the other ability is he allows you to Xeno Evolve on him 7-drop Demigrass for 3. So of course we're playing 3 Temporal Darkness Demigra. This guy right here allows you, when you play him, to warp one of your opponent's battle cards, and then you can play a battle card which costs 4 or less from your warp into play. He also has the ability to be Dark Overrun for 4 with 7 black cards in the drop. And you know, sometimes you play him that way, but preferably you want to do this because this will trigger the Unison effect. His primary targets to also help you awaken pretty quickly: 2 copies of Time Trauma Mass Saiyan. This guy has a skill that when he comes into play, you can choose up to 2 cards from your life and add it to your hand. If you chose at least 1, you get the warp of 5 or less from your opponent's side of the field. So you make him into him, you get to warp 2 of their battle cards, as well as possibly self-awakening on that turn. And then another option is Kylie Aptitude, SSG Son Goku. So this guy right here has 2 effects: an activate main where you can pitch him from your hand for 1 to pop a 2 or less battle card. That comes up because one of the things that this deck doesn't want to deal with are little floodgate creatures like opposing Dark Power, Black Mass Saiyans, and things like that. So he helps to clear off those little things. But also he has the ability as an auto when he comes into play to warp one of your opponent's battle card. It doesn't matter what size it is. And in his case, he's also a 20k double striker. So sometimes you're already awakened, you want to play another Demigra, you need to be able to deal with 2 threats, and you have a double striker that they have to worry about with their life total at a lower point. Continuing with the Overrun packages, I have a bunch of Singletons. One of which is Secret Identity Mass Saiyan. I believe you kind of have to run this card because it is just so strong. You overwhelm him, you warp up to a total cost of 6. So he's amazing against tokens. He's also amazing against, reasonable wide board states. And he's also a 25k. So they still have to expend resources to stop him. New card in set 11, SS3 Vegeta Unstoppable Evolution. This guy right here is barrier removal for double black and an overwhelm of 6. So you get to remove barrier as well as draw a card. So he replaces himself. And in fact, if you count the -10 of the card on the field, he's almost a +1. And then, let's see, next on the Singletons of Overrun, we have one SS Bardock the Tenacious. And he basically floodgates your opponent's following turn because they can only attack with 1 battle card on the next turn. And the reason why I'm not too worried about running 1-ofs is because if I mill them, I can always get them back with the leader effect. And in the case of some of these, with our recycle engine, you don't actually need to see them turn after turn. So next up we go to the next engine, which is the ISR engine. So we're playing 2 copies of Son Goku making an entrance. Singleton copy of Son Goku Dimensional Defender. And that guy right there, if you don't know what he does, when he swings, he could put 2 cards from the warp back into your drop and then add a life to your hand. There's times that you actually get him off of him when your opponent doesn't have 2 threats on the table, but you want to be able to awaken. You could warp one guy, bring him out, swing, put back 2 cards, take a life, and then he is set up, if you could protect him, to be Xeno evolved into the Son Goku Saiyan Transcendence. This guy right here is a 25k double striker that only costs 1 if you evolve him over one of these 3 guys. He has an activate main where you get to choose up to 4 black battle cards, take them from your warp and put them into your drop. And that's a pretty large amount of cards. It also allows you to get back these guys after you overwhelm them. Allows you to get back whatever you need to into the drop area where you could then pick them back up with the leader. Now we're gonna go to utilities. 3 copies of Dark Power Black Mass Saiyan. We kind of know what he does. In this deck we can run a main because we need the Self-Awakening. Even though we have the Unison, we have the Time Trauma, and that helps make it a lot more consistent. Sometimes you just really need to get that life out, and there you go. Next up, 3 copies of Vegeta Time Regulator. Vegeta Time Regulator basically interacts with the Overrun. So since we already have to run a decent amount to take advantage of the Unison, we're also running the Time Regulator so that when we overrun, we could choose up to 2 cards in our warp with a cost of 1 through 7. Put them on the bottom of our deck and draw a card if we put at least 1 back. So it helps us to stop from decking out. Super combo, 4 copies of this Goku. I know that might seem strange because there's a couple of different options, but the reason why I'm not going 4 deep on the new Vegeta is simply because it's a 0/0 at all times. And I understand that putting cards back is powerful and drawing the 2 cards is powerful. I totally get that. But when you really need to defend your life total against certain decks early on and you can't because it's a 0/0, or when your opponent plays like a Food Shrouded or the Invoker Victory Strike, which shut off the skills of cards, you're gonna wish you had a 0/10k, even if it didn't draw you cards. Beyond Darkness Demagra, that is our ultimate for the deck. You have actually a couple of choices. You can also run like a Smoke Dragon. You can run the Negative Energy Dragon Balls. There's a bunch of options, but this is the one I'm choosing to go with, just because he immediately closes out of the game if you're able to hit with him. And then Power Burst. This is our negate. Power Burst plus this equals more than their sum, because you can negate, have it leave the table, Power Burst, bring it back, negate. So it's a little bit more than just 6 negates if you look at how they interact with each other. So this is the deck. It plays really, really strong. I believe it is 53 cards, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it. This is VG Time signing out.